Hello dear viewers, and welcome back to the ancient dwarven hold of our ancestors. Today I shall be talking about the game Heroes of Hammerwatch. Heroes of Hammerwatch, or Hammerwatch, is a roguelite action-adventure game developed and published by Crackshell. It was released on the 1st of March 2018. Before we get going, dear viewer, if I could request that if you haven't already done so, and like what I do down here in the Ancient Hold, then perhaps consider subscribing to the channel, giving the video a thumbs up, and maybe leave a comment with your thoughts. Back in the day, when I was but a beardling, there was this fun combat action-adventure game known as Gauntlet. It was a top-down affair with you and a friend, if you had one, and several more at the arcade, could take control of fantasy characters, like a wizard, an elven archer, a Valkyrie, and a fighter. You would move about the levels, attacking baddies while looking for a way out of the dungeon. It was a simple premise: move about the place, avoid being hit while attempting to get your own hits in, destroying the enemies, and looking for keys and such. It was good fun and enjoyed numerous releases, along with a remake redo that was released a few years ago. Perhaps I should do a video talking about that one at some point. Anyway, if we fast forward to more modern times, we have a game like Heroes of Hammerwatch, where you are fundamentally doing the same thing, but on a grander scale with a few extra bits thrown in. In Hammerwatch, you take on the role of a brave hero in a roguelite endeavour, with you going on runs into the tower, destroying baddies, collecting loot, and rebuilding the town of Hammerwatch. The visual style going on here is a pixel art affair. The town of Hammerwatch and the mines and other environments in the tower you fight your way through all have that classic pixelated theme from back in the day, which is now very much its own thing and genre of art style. Your hero sprites and the baddies you fight are quite small and simple in their design and do remind me of Gauntlet, but also for some reason cannon fodder, if you remember that one from back in the day on the Amiga. It is quaint and charming, and I think it works very well. The movements and combat also work well, with no stutter or slowdown when there is a lot going on the screen. As this is a rogue-ish game, you'll be experience the earlier levels a lot more than later, so there needs to be some good variation in environments. The first few levels are mine-themed, before moving on to a kind of dungeon theme, then to a medieval castle style, and so on to others. I would have preferred to perhaps have a real randomised tile set, so each run was more unique. But there are ways to not linger too long in the earlier levels once you've reached a certain amount of progression, which I'll talk about later on. The background music is well conceived and suits well the medieval dungeoneering going on here in Hammerwatch. It is a good accompaniment as you battle your way through the levels, dishing out punishment to the bad things that are there. There isn't any voice dialogue, and there also isn't much in terms of story and text for you to read through. Some NPCs will have simple hints or requests for you, but there aren't any dialogue options or anything like that. It is all very much about the playing of the game rather than having some in-depth narrative, and that is okay. You can get away with it really in these roguelike or roguelike games where the focus is on the run through the gauntlet rather than anything else. The sounds of combat as you fire your bow, swing your sword, or cast your spells gives good feedback, as well as when a foe is defeated. Some of them give quite funny responses when they die, but luckily nothing too haunting. Overall, art style and sound-wise, Heroes of Hammerwatch provides an interesting world for you to get into. It's fairly simple stuff, fantasy-style world, kill bad things, save the town sort of thing, but I think it does work really well. Some more backstory and perhaps some thought-provoking dialogue certainly wouldn't be amiss, but the focus here is going on runs through the tower, making that a solid and worthwhile experience. When you start the game, you can create a new character with nominal features like skin colour and such. Then you select what class you are going to be. In the base game, which is what I played, you can be a sorcerer, a ranger, a knight or a warlock. Each has their own set of skills and weapons that represent unique styles of play. As you might expect, the ranger uses a bow with appropriate skills, the knight uses a sword and shield, and the sorcerer uses magic. The Warlock is rather interesting as they are like a hybrid of melee and ranged spellcasting, which I thought was quite interesting. I initially created a character of each class and had a little run around with each of them before I decided rather than going melee, which I tend to do a lot, I would go with the Ranger. You begin the game in the middle of the town of Hammerwatch. As I said, there isn't a lot of talking or text, so it is up to you to go around town and speak to the various NPCs, or non-player characters, where you can try and understand what each of them do or what service they might provide. There is an NPC for upgrading the town, adding reopening different buildings, a blacksmith for upgrading your weapons and armour, one for health, and so on. Once you've had a quick runabout, you get an idea of what you're going to be upgrading and who you're going to be talking to between runs. Once you've acquainted yourself with the town and gotten some sort of idea of what's going on, then you can actually go on a run. This involves moving to the mine entrance at the base of the tower and beginning the game proper. It actually took me a little while to find the mine entrance, as there seemed to be several NPCs that looked to be guarding the entrance to somewhere, but these were from expansions which I don't have. Anyway, once I figured out where to go, I commenced my first run. Each attempt through the tower, or run, entails you making your way through the various levels, picking up ore, gold and items as you do battle with nasties and large bosses, all in an attempt to get to the end, or at least as far as you can go. You move around each level in a top-down perspective. You control your small sprite around the place with the WASD keys and use the left mouse button to attack with your base attack. The right button is used for casting your first spell, which you'll have from the beginning. It feels quite Gauntlet-esque, as well as cannon foddery, as I've said, and also some twin stick shooters stuck in there too, as you can move the mouse in 360 degrees around your character to attack in any direction. Combat in Hammerwatch involves you avoiding your enemy attacks while getting into a good position to use your own attacks and spells. Spells cost mana, but your main attack is free. It can get quite hairy at times with a lot of enemies on the screen at once. You'll need to move about quickly and use your skills to take down enemies as quick as you can, lest you get overrun. Besides zipping about, attacking and moving, there is some nuance involved here. With my ranger class, while I was moving, I would attack slower than when standing still. This would lead to me trying to maximise the time I was standing still to get as many shots off as I could before having to move once more. There is also this combo mode that you can get into once you've killed 10 mobs in a row, and will be granted various benefits depending on your items. By default, it seems to speed up your attack and movement speed. And the baddies themselves come in different shapes and sizes, from bugs and grubs to undead soldiers, archers, ghosts, knights, mage, and much more, as you might expect from a fantasy-style game. Similar to Gauntlet, there are spawners in certain locations that you'll need to destroy, lest you fight a never-ending stream of bad guys. Whenever you clear through a certain number of levels that have the same theme, you will come across a boss. These boss fights can be challenging, especially the first times you encounter them. It can be rather frustrating to get to a new boss after a long run and then immediately die, having to do it all again, but that is the nature of such games. You will also gain XP as you defeat baddies, which is permanent, and this means that your character will slowly become more and more powerful with each run through the tower. You get stars each time you level up, as well as refilling your mana and health to max. These stars can be spent in town to upgrade existing and get completely new abilities. Beyond the combat though, you'll want to be picking up the gold you find, and especially ore, as these are used to upgrade the buildings and services back in town. Gold pays for items, blacksmith and potion upgrades and other bits and pieces. There are hidden away caverns that you can come across, traps and puzzles to deal with too, along with finding secret buttons to unlock further rewards. There are items too that increase your martial prowess, affecting health, mana regeneration, gold accumulation and more that will help you through your run. As you've probably been wondering about, the game is very much a roguelite game. When you die in a run, no matter how far you are into the tower or how much loot you have acquired, that is it. All gold and ore are gone, and any items you may have acquired are destroyed as well. There are parts of the dungeon though where you can send off gold and ore to town, saving it, even if you die. They are not guaranteed to be on a level, and you can get tax some gold, but it is well worth doing so you at least come away from each run with some number of resources. As I alluded to earlier, once you've beaten each boss, you can skip preceding levels by going through a portal that will take you to a map where you need to destroy a power cube thing in the centre. As you do damage to it, waves of baddies will spawn until you manage to destroy it. Once destroyed, you'll be able to exit and continue on to the next set of levels along with the haul of items for your effort. I think this is a good way of skipping through quickly, but the downside is you'll miss out on any gold and ore you might have found on those levels. So, over time, through numerous adventures, your character and town will increase in power. You will unlock new buildings and services and buy permanent upgrades, as well as items to be used in your next run. I would say that this can take a while though to feel powerful, especially if you've dallied about too much with lots of ore and gold being totally wasted. That is the real pain going on here, going for a long run and either forgetting or having not come across a place to send to town, and then losing all of the gold and ore that you've accumulated. I swore some for sure when this happened a few times. I wish perhaps you could accumulate stuff at a little faster rate, or perhaps not quite tax you as much as they do, as well as XP gain being a touch higher, but overall the gameplay feels good for what you might hope for from a roguelike kind of game like this. There is that classic game loop of heading off into the tower, getting some loot and some XP, hopefully saving it, dying, and then going back to town to try to improve both it and yourself. This feels good and importantly rewarding, but like I say, if you didn't manage to save anything, you might have to have a little scream. The game isn't easy either. Some bits will be quite tricky, and bosses can be difficult, but the nature of the game, of slowly becoming stronger and stronger, will allow you to overpower these things in time. It's just whether you want to keep going until that point, and that is the thing with these sorts of games really. You do need to grind out power to feel strong and capable. If you have that sort of mind or way of engaging with games, then I think you will enjoy Hammerwatch a lot. Otherwise, you might get tired of it after a while, and that's totally fine too. I do like how runs come together sometimes, and you manage to get some items from a set together or luck upon some high quality piece of gear that really helps you on your adventure. Sometimes I would get several items that increased gold or ore gain, so I would not do the skip map for each set of levels and go through them instead, trying to hoard as much resources as possible to send back to town. If you're into this sort of roguelite gameplay, then I would definitely recommend Hammerwatch. If perhaps you're not really interested in doing some grinding, fighting through the same levels over and over, then you might want to give this one a miss. It is often on sale, so you can grab it cheap and get to adventuring and saving the town of Hammerwatch. And there we go, dear viewer. Another video from me here down in the Ancient Hold. Thanks for watching this far, and hopefully you found it interesting. I hope you are well, and I shall see you next time.